there, and welcome to math class. In today's video, we are looking at adding and subtracting fractions again, but this time our fractions are going to have different terms. In the last video, everything was in similar terms, and we were able to work with those pretty much directly as they're written. But in these, we're going to have some work to do. So to do this lesson, you will need some of your memory pieces. And this is item number 11. And you need 4 of these. They're these little butterfly shapes that we're going to use. I know this looks bizarre, but it will help you. So I am going to use these in just a minute. I'm not going to use them to begin with. I'm going to show you 2 methods of doing these problems. And the first one is the traditional way. So I'm going to take the butterflies away and we'll come back to those. So for this lesson, the title is Add and Subtract Fractions. And we are going to be drawing on a lot of skills that we've learned to this point. You really need to have watched all the videos before this one to be able to do this one well. Math is that way. It builds on skills that you've learned before. The rule, or it's really not a rule, I guess, it's just something that you need to know here, is you must have a common denominator. So make sure that you write that down. To add and subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. That's why I built in that lesson about how to find a common denominator. So we are going to be working with that, and that is very important. Okay, the first example is an addition problem. And I want us to do 1/4 plus 2/3. And I'll tell you what, let me write that a little differently. 1/4 plus 2/3. Now if you have the calculator, you can go to the calculator and do this problem. If you do not have a calculator, the first thing we have to do is get a common denominator. So my denominators are 4 and 3. They are not common. So this is where that process comes into play that we did. Remember, we used a Venn diagram. We also did it this way. I'm not going to use the Venn here. 4, 8, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12. So 12 is the lowest common denominator, or the LCM. It's the lowest common multiple. So step 1 is to find the common denominator. And let me put those steps over here for you. Find the LCD. Step 2 is to raise to the LCD. So here's what we do next. We say 1/4 plus 2/3. And we are going to raise those up to 12ths. We've got to get them on common terms before we can add them. 4 times 3 is 12. So 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. So 2 times 4 is 8. Then you add the numerators. Or subtract, whatever the case may be. So you end up with 11/12. and you simplify if you can. This one is already simplified. So 1/4 plus 2/3 equals 11 over 12. And that is my final answer. This is the traditional way of doing this problem. Now, I want to take one of these butterflies. I'm not going to do it just yet, but I want to take it and put it right in this space because we're going to use the butterfly method in a minute. I wanted to show you all the traditional ways first. Okay, at the bottom of this page, let's put another problem. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room right here. And here's another one. Using the traditional method. Let's do 6 over 10 minus 2 over 5. So the first step is to find an LCD, the lowest common denominator. And you may know it just by looking at it, but I want to write these out so you can see where that's coming from. 10, 20, 30, just get started. 5, 10, there it is. 10 is in both lines, and that's what I want to use. So I'm going to say 6 over 10 minus 2 over 5, and we need to raise both of these to tenths. The 6 is already tenths, so you can just bring that over. You don't have to do anything. In this one, I would have to multiply by 2 to get the 10, so 2 times 2 on top is 4. And now you have them in like terms. Subtract. So 6 minus 4 is 2 over 10, and always simplify if you can. And we can, because 2 will divide into 2 and into 10 to give me 1/5. So 6/10 minus 2/5 is 1/5. And again, let's put a butterfly in. We'll use that in just a minute. I'll show you the butterfly method. If this method is working for you, you don't have to worry about the butterfly method. But I do want to show you that, first of all, because you may find it very helpful, and secondly, because your kids may come home to see this method. So you never know when they bring it home. Alright, let me show you the calculator keystrokes while I have some space here. You probably don't even need these keystrokes. If you've been using your calculator, you will know what to do. But just in case, I want to give you some examples, especially those of you who may not have a calculator at your house and you don't really have anything to practice on. Sometimes writing these steps can be helpful to cement this into your brain. I would recommend, though, if you're going to be using a calculator on a test, that you get a hold of one and practice before you try this on a test. So all clear. 6 fraction 10, subtract 2 fraction 5 equals, and let me type this into my calculator just to be sure I'm not telling you something that is in error. That can happen. 1/5. And we will come back to the butterfly. Okay, 2 more examples. And let me get a butterfly there. Here is example 3. I'm not going to write the steps this time. Let's do 1/6 plus, 1/4. We want to know what that equals. So I'm going to find the common denominator. And I do want to show you something here. 6, 12, 18, 24. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So we have the 12 in common. We also have the 24 in common. Now you can use either of them. But if you use the 24, it's not the lowest common denominator. So if you use the 24, you're going to have more reducing to do. But you can use either one of them. I just wanted you to know that. And I forgot mine's, you don't have to move yours, but I'm going to put mine right up there because I'm limited on space in my notebook. So I have 1/6 over 1/4, and those are being added. And I need to raise both of them up. I'm going to use the 12. It's the lower one. But the 24 would work. Alright, 6 times 2 is 12. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then 4 times 3 is 12. So 1 times 3 is 3. We're adding these. And I got a 5/12. Will not simplify, so we'll use the butterfly in just a minute. Okay, one more, maybe 2 more, if I can squeeze 2 in. I think I can. Next example. One thing, when this is over, you will know how to spell the word example if you didn't already. Let's do, let me think of one. How about 2/5 minus 1/4? Okay, so let's get a common denominator. We have 5 and 4 to work with. 5, 10, 15, 20 looks good to me. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So 20 is the lowest common denominator. There are others, but that's the lowest one I can find. So I'm going to raise the 2/5 and the 1/4 up to 20ths. We're going to build up to 20ths. And then we will be able to subtract. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 5 is 20, and 1 times 5 is 5. 8 subtract 5 is 3/20. And that is the final answer. It cannot be simplified. And I don't know if I did not put my final answer up here. So let me go back to the previous one and finish my problem out. I'm the world's worst about not finishing it out. Okay, one butterfly right here. Okay, one more example and then I'll show you the butterfly method. Let me think of one. Let me think through this one because I want to set it up a certain way. Let's do 6/8 plus 12/16. So first thing is to get the common denominator. If you don't already see the common denominator, you might have 8 and then 16, and there it is. That 16 will work for both of them, and that's the best possible scenario. So I'm going to raise the 6/8 and the 12/16 to 16ths. And then I will be able to add those fractions. 8 times 2 is 16, so 6 times 2 is 12. This one's already built up into 16ths. 12 and 12 is 24 with 16 on the bottom. Now what do we do when the fraction is top heavy? We have to QRD. So I'm going to change colors just to keep this from getting all jumbled up. And I'm going to take 24 divided by 16. It goes one time. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's a remainder of 8. So I have QRD, quotient. Sorry guys, I can't get it to be straight. Quotient, remainder, divisor. So that's not lowest terms. We got to keep going until we simplify. It's going to be an 8 to give me a half. So the answer here is 1 1/2. And let me put a butterfly in here. Okay, so what about this butterfly business? How is that going to work? This is a method I've seen for years. I've actually never taught this method, but I like it. I think it's helpful, and it's something that your kids may come home with, so I wanted to show you how to work with this in case that happens. And here's how it works. Remember, this first fraction set that we're adding was 1/4. So you put your fractions in the butterfly wings, and 2/3. So we're adding those. And actually, let's not put that there. Here are the two fractions, 1/4 and 2/3. The addition sign goes right there. And then you sort of just have to memorize this process. If you look at this wing, you've got the 4 and the 2 in there. You're going to multiply those. 4 times 2 is 8. And then in this wing, you have the 1 and the 3. And that middle area may turn green, guys, because these colors blend on this iPad which is pretty cool if you're drawing, but not if you're doing math problems. No, I guess it did make green, but it's okay. So 1 times 3 is 3. I multiply the wings. The yellow wing is 4 times 2. That's this wing. And then this wing is 1 times 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. You add those to get 11. 8 plus 3 is 11. Then in this part, his backside, his bottom, you're going to multiply 4 and 3. 4 times 3 is 12. And that is the answer that we are looking for. Doesn't have to be simplified. So if you notice, all the pieces are here. The 8 and the 3. There's the 3 and there's the 8. There's the 8 and there's the 3. Here's the 12, the common denominator. So all the pieces are there. It's just the butterfly helps you to organize it in a different way. Some people just do not like that at all, and that is okay. You don't have to do the butterfly. Some people don't like this at all. So I want to give you options about how to solve these. I've taught math for many years and I've seen so many different ways, and I'll try to share those with you as we go. Okay, we have one more butterfly, and this fella is a monster. He's a killer butterfly. The butterfly is actually not the issue. The issue is the numbers are so large. So when you multiply 8 and 12, you're going to get 96. And that actually happens to be the same when you multiply 6 and 16. And that's consistent with what we did in the traditional way. We got the same 12/16 on those. So 96 and 96 get added together right there. And that is going to give me 192. And then you have to multiply his bum, so 16 times 8 is 128. This is the reason I don't like the butterfly on this one. This is not the lowest common denominator, and that's why this is so hard to work with. If you get your lowest common denominator, you won't have these enormous numbers to deal with. But let's finish this one. We can do this. We get 1 time with 64 left over. So this is 1 and 64 over 128. 64 is half of 128, so that'll reduce on down. So the final answer is 1 and 1/2. I would not use the butterfly on that last one, but the others, it's a good way to do it. If you don't mind simplifying at the end, that method will work just fine for you. But either way is fine. The standard way, that's the way I learned it in school, the way I've taught it all these years, or the butterfly is just fine. I will see you in the next video, the next practice video. We will practice using these skills, and then in the next lesson video I'll show you how to subtract with borrowing. So have a great day, and I'll see you soon.